What's up guys, Harris here, and this is a first of two things for this channel. First is the first episode of a new series, kind of, that I'm trying out. It's just gonna be taking a look at technology from a couple years ago, a few years ago, whatever, just from the past that isn't the newest generation, and taking a look at how it functions and operates in the given year. This, of course, being 2018. Second of all, this is the first video back on the GH5, testing out a new lens. Let me know what you think of the video. Anyway, today we're taking a look at the iPad Pro 9.7. This came out 2 years ago, March of 2016, and by tablet standards, that's getting kind of old. Not super old, not like a smartphone old, but it's getting up there. The iPad Pro 10.5 is out, as well as a rumored new iPad for this year. So this is getting a little bit old, but we're gonna take a look at if it still has a place and a purpose in 2018. Let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, so for reference, I use this just about every single day. As a student, I use it for school, for taking notes, I use it for writing, browsing the web, watching YouTube, and to jump to the conclusion right away, this is definitely still very capable, and if you can get it for the right price, definitely recommend it still. Now, the things that differentiate itself from the 10.5, from the newest, would mainly be the display. The 10.5 has smaller bezels, slightly bigger display, and also has a faster refresh rate, 120 Hertz versus the standard refresh rate on the iPad. It does make a difference, however, it only makes a difference if you use it. If you don't use it and you don't know what it's like, then it's gonna be a very enjoyable experience still on the 10.5. Now, it's not to say this 2-year-old tablet is perfect. One of the biggest things is actually still a small thing, but Touch ID isn't blazing fast, right? It's slowed down a little bit. It's not as fast as it used to be, isn't anywhere as close to where some of the other devices are. And of course, Touch ID begins to feel a little bit outdated when you have something like the iPhone 10. And that's gonna be one of the rumored features for the new iPads this year, is face unlocking, getting rid of those bezels around the device. But still, the bezels aren't super big, Touch ID still works, and it is secure. Now, battery is going to be tablet battery. It's awesome. You're never gonna kill this in one day. Probably won't kill it in 2 days. I get between 2 and 4 days depending on how much I use it. I charge it up a couple times a week and you're good to go. Battery life is still a champ on here and definitely something worth getting. Even the camera on here is really solid. It has, I believe, the iPhone 7's camera. That's really impressive, really good. Not that I really ever use it, but for FaceTime or for taking the occasional picture, this thing is still really good for taking pictures, for video, even has slow motion. Now, the display is not the super fancy display that you find in the newest iPad Pro, but it's still Retina, it's still laminated, which means there isn't a gap between the glass and the display itself, at least not a noticeable one. That makes a big difference, and this display is really nice. Colors are good, it's bright, it's vibrant, and for most viewing circumstances, this is totally fine, and I really like using this display. And if you're using it for watching content, YouTube, whatever, it's absolutely perfect. And the 4 speakers on here sound excellent. So if you're using this as a media consumption device, it's still really, really solid. Now, of course, this is the iPad Pro, so it does have the smart connector. And although that's not super practical because a limited number of accessories support it, I still use that every day with my Logitech Create keyboard. Now, the one I had before, which you may have seen in a couple videos if you've been around since mid last year, I use the Create keyboard because the typing experience is second to none. It's really fantastic. It feels like a real keyboard on a laptop, and it has an Apple Pencil holder, which is awesome if you have an Apple Pencil. It is a bulky keyboard. In my previous one, I had some issues with the keys, but Logitech did send out a fixed one, and it is a different color, and so I've been using the black one, and I love it. It's got a cool texture. I don't recommend it to everybody because it is very bulky, but if you don't mind it and you have an Apple Pencil and you want the best typing experience on a keyboard for the iPad Pro, get this keyboard. I 100% would recommend it for that. And then day-to-day performance in general on here is still snappy. It still has a powerful processor, it still has the latest software, and Apple will continue developing that and getting you the latest software on here, and that's pretty much a promise. So everything about this iPad is still really good. If you're wanting the bleeding edge, this year's model is probably gonna have that, but if you're going for a budget or you're getting this as a gift for somebody else, the iPad Pro 9.7 from 2016, it's still an awesome option, and it's still what I'm using every day. You're just gonna be missing out on some screen technology and a little bit of speed. That is essentially it. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video and you found it useful, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let me know any other content or things you want me to revisit in 2018. Just leave those in the comments. Check out my social media, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.